Oh, that's a good way to start.
Okay, so we are in St. Louis. This is where Tony lives. We're actually at SLU, St. Louis University. Is that right? Yep. And we're here at the LAN. Tony flew me out to participate in the Intel LANFest. This is my first one ever. I really enjoy the environment. I think it's a pretty awesome experience. I do encourage all of you to attend one if you can. Tony here builds PCs. That's his thing, and he builds a lot of really awesome custom PCs, custom loop builds that you'll see here shortly.
Yeah, I mean, it started out just to fill a need, then it kind of like turned into a hobby. I've always been the type of person that I like a challenge, and I've always kind of pursued different creative outlets. Kind of always been sort of an artist, so it really just has blossomed into a avenue for me to express my creativity, and I'm really drawn to the more challenging type builds. So like one of the things I'll do is I'll see a particular case that, you know, I think to myself, that case isn't necessarily meant for a water-cooled system, but if you're willing to take on the challenge, you could potentially do something that is really neat. You know, if you're honest with people, you have to tell them water cooling really doesn't make any sense from a cost or performance standpoint, but if you've reached that level as an enthusiast where you're getting into custom water cooling, you should take that, in my opinion, you might as well take the opportunity to like take it to the next level and at least create the best looking build that you can. So that's kind of the way I approach it. I feel like I've inspired some people to maybe take it to the next level, or you know, just fuel their passion for the hobby. It's like that's kind of rewarding for me. So
yeah. So we're about to see 5 PCs that you've built personally with a lot of different gear.
Yeah, four of them are custom water cooled. The fifth one is just there's no custom water cooling in it, but it's a neat theme, so yeah, it's kind of worth showing off. So
cool, let's go check it out.
Awesome.
All right. Okay, Tony. So you have we just repeated this because they're speaking over the intercom quite a bit. But Tony's built several of these PCs, actually all of them that you see here. Yeah, pretty much all of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
all 5.
These are all his, or at least his creations, and I kind of want you to just walk us through like each one and. You know, the process you went through and the thoughts you had about each one at the end.
Okay. This system here I built for my son. It's in the Corsair Air 240. One of the neat things about this case, or I guess I should say the main reason I wanted to build in it, is it gives you the ability to do an inverted system, which is something I've been kind of wanting to do. I ran into some headaches along the way, as I've run into previously with Corsair cases, but I wanted, my main goal with this build was I wanted all of the components, since this is kind of a dual chamber separated design, I wanted to be able to have all the components like terminate into the mid plate. So I had to build that from scratch. Again, it's just acrylic. Acrylic's actually awesome. It's real versatile. It's fairly easy to work with if you have the right tools. You can literally order vinyl on Amazon and have it in 1 or 2 days, and then you can just use it and it's done.
So that's what you got. You have the vinyl right there on the back.
Yeah, like the carbon fiber. This is actually the vinyl that they use, you know, for car wraps.
Yeah.
So it's cool. I mean, it's got a neat depth to it.
So yeah, so this you did yourself. You cut this whole piece out, and then the piece in the back is.
Yeah, and then if you notice too, like this piece here, the way it notches around down there.
Yeah, because that's actually a little like grill back there, isn't it?
Yeah, there's where the stupid tiny fans that nobody uses would go.
80 millimeters, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I just use like for the holes for my pass-throughs. Obviously, there was a lot of planning that went into where those would be, and I could probably pull the panel off the back here and show you. You know, I just use soft tubing back here. This is a mess right now. Just ignore how bad this is, because I've had a couple issues with this, and it's not.
Oh yeah, the fans aren't working.
The fans are. Yeah, I'm having.
You'll see more about this in a future video.
But anyway, yeah, and then I just use soft tubing back here. There wasn't really any reason to mess with rigid tubing.
Yeah, that's smart.
All right, so this build here, this is actually one that I did for someone. He came to me and asked me if I could do a custom loop in his son's computer. He built this for him to be able to play VR. So again, it's just a piece of acrylic skinned with like a brushed aluminum style vinyl. So that's why you don't really see the side of the fans or the radiator. It's all sort of hidden behind there. So, and that I didn't do that because I wanted to hide the fans and radiator. I did it because I wanted to be able to hide the LED strip, and that's just kind of the way it worked out. So, but the thing that I was able to achieve with this build is that I was able to run the tubing in such a way that the person who owns this PC now is able to access all of the components, upgrade the system on their own without necessarily having to worry about disconnecting any of the water cooling.
Yeah, it's all conveniently routed out of the way of all of that. Yeah.
And it works out well too, because since there's a window on the top of the case, having all the tubing run across the top gives you a really neat view of the water cooling components. That's a pretty simple loop.
And this is the 570X, of course, there, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's a 7700K. But I think we have a real mild overclock, like 4.7, I think. Yeah. So, you know, I wasn't gonna push it on a system that's not mine, and they're not going to be able to troubleshoot issues from bad overclock, so just keep it simple. So this one here is, this is actually my personal rig. My rig is always kind of a work in progress. Right now it's rocking a 1080. The goal is to get my hands on a 1080 Ti. That's why this isn't water cooled, but I've got all the tubing routed across the top to where, you know, you just see the tubing terminate. I mean, if you look up in there, you can see it, but that little gap between, you know, where you might have your radiator support normally and then the top of the case, there was plenty of room up there to run the tubing. I ended up dremeling out a pretty big section of this basement. For one, the pump res combo wasn't going to fit through the stock opening there, so I had to enlarge it anyway. It's your pretty typical high-end system, 32 gigs of Corsair Dominator Platinum. It's actually a Z170 board. I've got the 950 Pro, that's only a 256, and then I've got two 500 gig 850 Evos in RAID 0 that are on the back side of the case.
And this is the Evolve Tempered Glass edition?
Yeah, the Inthu Evolve TDG. Yeah. So this one here, this is the one that's getting the most attention, I think, for obvious reason. The coolant. Ironically, this is probably the system I spent the most time on, not because I was being meticulous, but because it was just a difficult build. Getting this much water cooling to fit in this small of a case, especially when you consider, you know, factoring in a full-size res. It is a DDC pump, so it's smaller, but it was still difficult to figure out how to get all of this down in here. I ended up having to build a custom like plate to be able to mount the DDC to, which if anyone's like thinking about doing a similar build in this case, I do have a 4-part build log on my channel where you can get a little bit more in detail on, you know, kind of what I went through to make this work. Because I had a plan and I had to change it, and then I had to change that plan. Like, you start doing this, you start doing the stuff and realize it doesn't work. At least for me personally, if it's not challenging, I kind of lose interest. So
well, that's definitely looks like a challenge right there.
Yeah, I mean, it paid off though.
Oh,
you know.
Yeah,
now, one thing, this is acrylic tubing. And the build in the Fantex case was also acrylic. The previous two were PETG.
So what's your preference, acrylic or PETG, and why?
Acrylic.
Okay, you like acrylic more?
Yeah, it's a couple different reasons. I don't know why people are so hell-bent on using PETG and saying it's easier. I think acrylic's just as easy to work with, and I feel like I can get nicer bends from acrylic. But I like the rigidity of it. It allows you to get much nicer angles on your bends. PETG, especially along longer runs, tends to want to flex along that system, so it's hard to get like perfectly straight. And maybe I'm nitpicking, but I do notice those things, and they'll kind of bother me. So, funny enough, these are actually older components. This is a Z77 motherboard. It's actually an Ivy Bridge build. It's a GTX 980, but it's still a pretty strong build for 1080p gaming. So,
and for those wondering, I'm not sure if you said it already, what the coolant that you're using
it's Mayhem's Aurora.
Mayhem's Aurora.
Yeah.
That's Aurora Blue.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing. Now, a lot of people, you know, everyone on the internet's an expert. So when you show off a system with Aurora coolant, you know, 100 people have to tell you how you use the wrong coolant because this is only meant for show builds. Well, here we are at a show.
Yeah,
so,
we're at a show.
Yeah, for all the people that were giving me shit for using Aurora coolant, which I caught a lot of flack for it on Reddit and a couple other places. But yeah, it looks amazing. It shows off really well. Mayhem's does not recommend running it in the system long term. Honestly, worst case scenario, run it in your system, you get the particulate built up, you clean it out, you know. Yeah, maybe that's a pain, but it is what it is.
They're coming up
Alright.
So, and then the last system here, the what we jokingly call the T-Mobile build. This one obviously doesn't have a custom loop, however, very clean build. Obviously, a well-executed theme and color scheme. Didn't do anything drastic for this other than just, you know, with the custom cabling and just spending some time and effort. This kind of like showcases what is achievable for even just the average system builder. If they're,
custom loop in there.
yeah, you're willing to put in the time. I'll tell you this. I posted a picture of this on Reddit, and I got a ton of shit for mounting the CPU block upside down. People acted like that was the end all of.
back here trying to
But
die.
if you rotated this around, you jack up the tubing routing, and a much cleaner tubing routing to me makes the build look cleaner than a right side up text on your damn CPU block. So obviously that's a preference, but you know, this tubing's actually pretty long on this AIO, so I'm more of a fan of a cleaner run. The reason that I ran such a long route for the graphics card cables is you have all this awkward empty space down here. So just having something there helps to balance out, you know, the build, gives you some point of interest that's happening down in that space. So. Fuck it.
That's one.